however you are and whatever you are. Welcome, good souls, to the planet and beyond to Paranormal Now. I'm Alan B. Smith. Join us as we traverse the cosmic highway of paranormal portals and tantalizing turnoffs. Tonight, I am very fortunate to say that joining us in just a bit is Chase Kloetzke, ufologist and well-respected MUFON investigator, and so much more. And we'll cover a lot of ground, but tonight we'll be focusing on the documentary Extraordinary: The Seeding, which Chase co-produced. And, we'll ask a lot of questions, but I think one of the most curious questions of all is, what is alien seeding and what does hybridization actually mean? So we'll find out more about that in just a bit. As usual, please share your thoughts and experiences with us or after the show on Facebook.com/ParanormalNowRadio, Twitter @Paranormal_Now, or in the KGRA chat room. Now, tonight, I'm really excited to share that we are simulcasting video of tonight's broadcast. You can go to Paranormal Pop on YouTube, so youtube.com/ParanormalPop, and you can see the live stream. I have Chase with me, and Bill, our producer, is in the shadows, but he's with us as well. And of course, you can go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/ParanormalNowRadio, and it will also stream there. So really excited and grateful that Chase is a part of this this first broadcast of video using this platform. And for those of you who are listening, if you do like the platform and you're curious about it, it's called StreamYard. And of all the platforms that we've tested, this is by far the most stable and I think the most user-friendly as well. So if you want to go check it out, and I'll accept your feedback. Be as critical as you want. Let us know. We want to learn as we go along the way. And the cool thing is, in the comment section on either YouTube or Facebook, if you post your public comments there, I will see, Chase and I will both see your questions pop up in the comment stream here. And so we can highlight your comment for you or your question, and I'll be able to get to those in real time. So really excited. Okay. So as usual, the Paranormal Radio app lines are open in the second hour to call in and ask our guest your question. That number is 85-KGRA-LIVE, 855-472-5483 for the Paranormal Radio app hotline. All right, so let's do this. Chase Kloetzke is an active leader in UFO and ancient artifacts investigations. She employs a diverse set of skills and professional techniques known as, quote, the gold standards. Her work concludes admissible inquiry, proper case management, and scientific conclusions. She joined the Mutual UFO Network in 1996 and was selected as the STAR Team Manager and Deputy Director of Investigations through 2011. She was responsible for the program design, protocols, and investigation procedures for a National Rapid Response Unit. This position included supervision of the most experienced investigators and access to the most sensitive and complex cases reported to MUFON. And if you want to find out more about Chase, go to chasekloetzke.com. Her last name is spelled Kloetzke. Chase, welcome to Paranormal Now. Again.
I'm so happy to be here. This is great. Thank you for having me, Alan.
Yes, thank you. Well, you were actually on this program when Carol Carl, and I gratefully say, guest hosted. And so,
oh, that's fun. Yes.
Yeah. So for me, this is the first time, you're on the program and we're having a conversation. And so that means I have a backlog of questions for you. It'll be a fun night. And before we get into the documentary Extraordinary: The Seeding, which, by the way, we watched twice, my wife and I, and it was really fascinating and actually very well executed.
Thank you. And for the audience to know right now, if you are Amazon Prime, it's free. And I love that. I want as many people to see it as possible. So
yes, exactly. So it's a complex subject, hybridization, aliens coming down here, abducting, impregnating, sperm extraction. There's just so much going on here. And then there's the human experiential side of that, the trauma. So before we really dive deep into that, I just want to hear from you quickly. What was your progression from being interested in UFOs in general all the way to, your obviously deep curiosity and investigations towards alien abduction, because for some people those can be very different camps.
Yes, absolutely. And starting with the very nuts and bolts in science, and then we have to realize somebody's piloting these craft, right? There's somebody behind this. So you start really reaching out to a lot of people and you hear this. It should be ridiculous, guys. We know that. It should be absolutely ridiculous. Except some of the most credible people on the planet have a story of being abducted, and these reproductive type experiments or things happen to them. People all over the world, they don't know each other. People that, barely have an internet. It's just, it's something. It took me a long time to really get into it and think about it and investigate and look for trace evidence on people that just had an experience. So, but it's a story and it's not going away. It's here to stay. And there's many people like John Mack and all these really famous David Jacobs. I have losing my head here. But honestly, there's a lot of people that have been doing this for quite a long time. And, for me, it's the witnesses that are so credible. Why would they say this? Why would they make it up? To be nothing but ridiculed and shredded on social media.
Well, I suppose people can say that they want their 15 minutes of fame, even if they don't make money. I've heard that argument that it's not just about selling a book or whatever, doing, speaking engagements at events, but maybe they just want the attention for a little while and it makes them feel good about themselves.
That's not really what we're seeing, though, because you see the people that we're even featuring in the film, they don't have big books and movies and, all this stuff. I mean, these are very private people for the most part. And most of them have been traumatized. And, so to tell a story like that, it's so brave. It's so brave to come out and share, because every time somebody watches it and sees see them tell their own story. This started out a very different film, by the way. This was going to be very scientific. I was supposed to go in and investigate, and it turned into the human experience. It turned very quickly into them, and it should be. And we're so proud of that. I really admire the director and executive producer, John and Lori.
John Semple, and
Yes. So it's just fun. It's just a lot of fun.
Well, John, did he also direct Extraordinary, the Ron?
Yes.
I just lost his name too. Romanek.
Right. It's Stan Romanek. And
thank you. Yes.
Right. And it's so controversial because they did that way before the controversy. And it was so sad for them because when that all broke, they've got their names on it. Right. So on, some of the phenomena, but it is very well done, and there was a lot of truth in that. So a lot of respected people like Alejandro Rojas and many others swear that they saw activity and that was going on. So unfortunate events,
but I think that because of what happened to Stan, I think the film did get probably more attention than it otherwise would have. So is that negative attention, or does it matter?
I don't like to see him get attention personally. Okay,
I see. Yeah.
Right. Because of what he was accused of doing and, actually found guilty. So but John and the guys, honestly, they deserve that attention. It's a good film. There's a third one coming out. I can't say anything about that now, but there is another one coming, so I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, do you know what the third one is going to be?
Yes, but I can't say. It is so tight right now. It's like crazy.
All right, so we'll keep that top secret for the moment. Do you think that the majority of those who are claiming to be abducted are telling the truth? Or do you think that maybe it's 50-50 or 25%, and the rest are going through some other trauma. I hear the word screening often, right? Like where in the abduction experience, they're projecting onto the alien what that person would feel comfortable seeing.
That is a smart question. I'm really excited that you asked that, because I don't know what the ratio would be. I will tell you that there are people that claim to be abductees that are not abductees. They're found out pretty quickly, because now it's kind of a popular topic. So, anybody can understand what we call the triggers, that, this is a truthful comment because we've heard this 100 times, right? But there's certain things that, as investigators, we almost kind of keep a little quiet. So, there's ways that we get this information, ways that we get the feeling of, or the truth, whether they're not telling the truth, they believe what they're saying, or it really happened.
Yes. So what I was thinking was that screening, as it's explained by those who are abducted, could be seen another way as in the real world. If someone had, let's say, a traumatic event or were raped, could I not create my own screening, right? Like my own memory, and take a real world, real human atrocity and see it as an alien event? I mean, how do you discern between that?
It happens. It happens. It's rare. I will tell you, it's rare that happens. But just when we interview and use the techniques, and I'm certified with International Forensics Association, and so you're taught how to not interrogate but interview. But then you challenge questions, and it's a process. But for the most part, I think it's a special population. So I'm there for more of the scientific, any kind of trace evidence, kind of tracking and tracing abductees in that area. If it's one, maybe the whole street, who knows, right? So that's where I'm mostly in, because it is a very special population. Most of them are traumatized. I don't have that skill set. I don't want to cause harm or say the wrong thing. So I pass them on quickly to, like, Yvonne Smith and some of the people that work with the abductees that are well known and successful.
Right. What gives you the sense of credibility for these investigators when you meet and you talk to people? Because to invest in a film like this and a study, really, like a human study, like you said, I guess you have to have that sense of trust. But how do you know? How do you know when someone is sincere?
It's not really trust. When you go in, like when I go in to any investigation, my belief system stays outside. And everything I do is about, it'd be the same way you would kind of go through an interview from a homicide or a robbery. I mean, we're looking for facts. I'm looking for details. I want them to tell their story. I'm going to have them tell it reverse. I mean, but you don't want to be an interrogator either, but it is a special population. And, who am I to say, I don't believe any of that. And I love the comment in the film where she says, it's just a story until it happens to you.
Right. Right. But isn't that true for any strange phenomena?
Yes.
We were watching Skinwalker Ranch, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch on the History Channel.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, I'm happily surprised with how that.
Me too.
Right? Yeah.
It's very few UFO shows that come out with real science, money invested, smart people behind it. You have civilians, you have scientists, you have investigators, and I was so happy, and I was hoping it would be that way. However, they've raised the bar to the point where if you're not getting evidence, if you're not have that observation data,
right, I
almost think you have to move on, because these guys, I mean, and also unidentified, to the Stars Academy, this whole field has jumped 10 steps ahead.
Yeah, I'm kind of sort of with you on that, because I agree that they have stepped the bar up, because that's the great thing about the show. It's about measure, 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 take pictures, take images, do work. And I love that. It's fantastic. I'm a fan of Oak Island, but Oak Island.
Oh, me too. I love those guys.
Yeah, me too.
Even the wine Mary is Marty and Rick. Have you ever noticed that? The name of his wine is Mary, and it's his first two. And
Oh, okay, cool.
So cool. I love those guys.
Have you had their wine before? Have you purchased their wine?
No, it's expensive. I love wine, but I might one day.
Can we get some of that wine for Chase, please?
Right? It's It's Mary. It's actually Marty's vineyards, and and he, of course, his brothers invested in it as well. But it's great. I love the guys. I every week I'm just like, oh my God, please find something new. I was just so cheering for them.
Yeah, me too. And that's the thing is I love going on the journey with them.
Yes.
But I mean, realistically, you could take that whole series and cut it down by half, right?
Yeah, Prometheus has gotten really good as a production company about telling a story. Yeah. And although, Ancient Aliens, I was so hooked on that show. And then it's just jumped the shark a few years ago. It's like, I don't even but Oak Island, it's because you love these guys. I mean, your heart's with these guys. You want them to be successful. And just really hoping for these guys. I love them.
Yeah, me too. And what made me think about that is that on Skinwalker Ranch, this is the last episode, and I won't say anything, no spoilers for anybody who's listening. Two of the cast who typically seem to be skeptical were like, their minds are kind of blown.
Yeah.
And with what they captured on camera and what they were there to experience in the moment. And when that happens to you, it changes your personal paradigm.
Yeah, because even one of them, when they went back into, I don't know if they call it a war room, but whatever, their little meeting room is, and he couldn't answer a question. He's like, guys, wait, I'm still processing, but it's something when you see something that's not supposed to exist. Right. It's a mind blower. Exactly. It changes you.
It does. So, and like you said, because Prometheus is a good storytelling company, they are sort of helping to, propagate these more fantastic ideas to the public at large, which I think is great. And I mean, Ancient Aliens has definitely gotten very loose. But it's still entertaining, and I appreciate that it injects the alien phenomena into pop culture.
Absolutely. And that's why all of the shows, have a little bit of that somewhere. And it's for everybody who's watching, you're opening your eyes, which is why we need more shows like Skinwalker and Unidentified, because people are going to believe what you're saying. If you're touted as the experts and, the authors and, all the titles they like to give you that we don't call ourselves. But next thing you know, it's, you've got people believing stuff that is just ridiculous. And, looking at an ooh and eyeing video that was debunked for years ago. It's like, so the crap TV can stay over there somewhere, and usually they don't come back. People kind of know.
But is there enough out there so you can have multiple shows like Skinwalker Ranch? Because that seems like quite the exception almost, because like you said, I mean, how many ghost hunting shows go out there and they look for something and they can't find anything even remotely tangible other than maybe a loosely interpreted EVP? I mean, are there multiple Skinwalker Ranches out there?
Absolutely. In fact, there's a couple hot spots, and I'm actually deep diving in one right now, which has every single thing Skinwalker Ranch does, including a litany and a written history, a documented history of the exact same stuff. And as a matter of fact, there's a production that has been green-lighted that I will be participating in and on. And there's plenty of room for more of that, for sure.
Can you speak more on that production, or?
I can't because right now we're in lockdown and we're not going to be able to film until restrictions are up. But it is a TV show. It's a major television channel, and I'm just really excited. And I get to work with one of my favorite people, which is Timothy Alberino, and we've done a lot of Peru and South America investigations together. So this is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, you have some experience with the elongated skulls.
Yes,
and
yes.
So just, we won't spend too much time on it, but I am curious, do you think that those skulls are legitimate extraterrestrials, or are they a branch off of the hominid, family tree?
I think they're human, and I think they're emulating something. So, what makes, a race of people all of a sudden on a Monday say, oh my gosh, we should elongate our heads. Yeah, right? They're emulating something, but for everyone I've seen, and I've done the DNA, and what we found in our multi-samples, which is amazing. I've taken a little over 300 samples. So once we got the data back, we didn't find alien, we didn't find hybrid, but we found that this group of people in Paracas with the red hair came from the Middle East. Wait, what? So that's a whole other big story. Maybe we'll do it another time, but it's so interesting when, I just love that. I love when, we just find the truth. And to discover something like that off of my DNA extractions, freaking out. I'm so happy.
Yeah, I mean, you feel proud, right?
Yeah.
And you've been working at this for a really, really long time, and you deserve that recognition.
Oh, thank you. I call myself old and grumpy.
Old and grumpy?
Yeah.
Is grumpy, is that a good thing? Is that?
It is. I joke about being grumpy as in a little jaded. Just recently, I think so many of us that used to be so tight and we do so much together and investigate and research. Like Richard Dolan's doing his own thing. I'm doing my own thing. Alejandro Rojas is doing his, Nick Pope, like the whole Linda. We're still really good friends, but we seem to be just doing things. I'll tell you where I'm having the most fun right now. Okay. UFO Twitter. I love those guys, and it's a younger crowd, and I'm so impressed by them, like Danny Silva and Deep and, Chant Hanna. These are good researchers and like legit next generations, and they have a high bar. They're smart, they're witty, and they don't take any crap. And I love these guys. So anybody out there, follow UFO Twitter and join us. It'll be fun. But only if you're nice. We don't do trolls, and we don't do stupid.
Right. Well, there is a lot of trolling out there, and there's actually a blog post on your website about trolling, which I thought.
Oh my gosh, yes! Because when I investigated the Star Child skull, oh my gosh, that had a whole cult of its own following, and they didn't like that it came out human. So, which every DNA test did. So it's just nutty. Yeah, trolls.
Yeah, I never had a chance to have a conversation with Lloyd Pye. Shortly before he passed away was just when I was starting to do guest hosting with Epic Voyages Radio on the Inception Radio Network. Oh, by the way, Ken Cherry says hello.
And, thank you. Yeah. Tell him I said hi back.
Ken's a good friend, he gave me the chance to start doing this on Epic, and so I had reached out to Lloyd Pye. He probably didn't even know anything about me. It was just a random email, and I asked him some questions, and he just sent me like PDFs of like information just to read. It was just so. It reminded me very much of Stanton Friedman.
Yes.
He's just so open, and he wants to educate you, and he wants to share information.
And I was happy that, and the other thing I do in my reports is if I have a DNA test done, that test goes up unredacted. You know what lab I use, who the technician was, because the public should be able to vet your work. They should be able to test what you're saying and verify it. And because that's what I do as an investigator. So all of that goes out there. And I was just really happy because for the first time, that skull was tested by a Paleo DNA lab. And that's what Lloyd wanted. He wanted scientists paying attention. Sorry, I live right next to a train station. So if you hear that in the background, but he really wanted more science done on it. And so I was really proud that we could make that happen. It wasn't the result. And it kind of angered some people. It disappointed most, including myself. Yes, I want to find a friggin' alien. Yes, I would like this to be a hybrid. That's why I do what I do. But it wasn't, and I'm not going to make it so. It's if it's human, it's human. Here's the test results, and everybody can vet my work. Everybody.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I love that. So we're going to take this first break and we'll come back on the other side. And I promise everyone, we will discuss alien abduction, hybridization, and what is actually going on. And eventually, Chase, I really do want to find out more about those personal experiences that people had, because I think that was one of the most touching parts about the film. Extraordinary this evening. This is Alan B. Smith for Paranormal Now on KGRA Radio Live. We will see you on the flip side. We'll be right back.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRAradio.com.
Inside of me, it's a screen image of the reptilian. They began the insemination process.
A new embryo is created, and that little hybridized embryo already formed is implanted in the womb, and she will gestate.
They always want the children fetuses.
I would go in for my appointment and there would just be no baby.
With a very long needle through the belly button, would go into the uterus, and they would find the fetus.
It holds on to the fetus and pulls out.
And then they bring this little girl in the room.
And he said that she's yours.
This beautiful eyes, this face, and I see myself in the child.
She was emanating her feelings. I was shocked.
It was nobody's right to impregnate me and use me as a laboratory rat.
I went from 210 pounds to 115 pounds.
These beings that are doing the abducting don't have the same morality as we do.
They don't think what they're doing is wrong.
Hearing other people's accounts will make you go, okay, I'm not crazy. I'm not alone.
Who are we serving? We need to ask those questions.
Look, human beings taken animals in the wild and bred them. Can we be bred into something different? The answer is absolutely. Of course we can.
Educate yourself. Be open-minded.
Don't be dismissive.
People have been taken.
You can't ignore this anymore.
Make up your own mind. Don't let anyone ever tell you how to think.
Sorry, guys, not all VTs are good.
And welcome back to Paranormal Now. My guest is Chase Kloetzke, and what you just heard was the trailer for The Extraordinary, The Seeding. And for those of you who are watching the show live, you saw the trailer yourself, which is pretty cool. All right, so taking us out of the break also was Septembrio. If you want to find out more about their music, you can go to septembrio.com. So, Chase, if in a nutshell, what is the abduction experience?
It's usually starts with, you're just taken. They find themselves, on a ship or in a room. And, as you heard in the trailer, like there's experiments or exams and actually implanting and inserting things, right? Instruments. And, and sometimes it could be a report of aliens or reptiles or something actually with them in their space. So it's it's hard to describe other than it is exactly what it sounds like. It's abductions, and this is something that we heard way back with Betty and Barney Hill. It's early 60s. So same thing, sexual type experiments done on them. And like I said, it should be bizarre, but I'm telling you that it's it's reasonable, and we need to start talking about it. It's something we need to do, especially since disclosure of UFOs is real. That's happened, in December 2017, right? So it's we need to advance some of that knowledge. As you saw in the film, the one lady there, she's lesbian. She's never been with a man. How is she pregnant? The other one is we had one, and she blacked out, wanted silhouette, and then there was another person we had that backed out last minute. But she's one that she had a sonogram dated, which is awesome, right? Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, 2 days later, it's just gone. And she has another one done because it's the doctor's like, where is it? So what they try to tell the women is that your body cannibalizes it.
Right. I've heard this. Mm-hmm.
Yes. It's not a miscarriage. It's literally, it just goes away. Your body eats it. I've heard it. I'm sure that's medically true, mm-hmm. but that's not what's going on with these women, and they know it.
Right. I've heard outside of abduction topic that there is a condition, I think, where the woman's own immune system turns against the embryo. Is that what they're saying it is?
Yes, doctors. That's the only way they can probably explain this, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of these women don't tell them, I believe, that this is a hybrid child. Yeah. So it's, which also leads to a lot of credibility as well. So we love it when they have the sonograms and proof that you see a lot in the film.
Right.
And I think Melinda Leslie stole that show. I loved her. She was just great.
Well, I mean, each and every one of them had just an amazing story to share. In particular, April, she had multiple attempts, or not attempts, but pregnancies, right?
Yes.
And then she was convinced that it was actually the aliens that helped her conceive her son, right? Right. She has one that, actually, she does. Now, some of this is, when people are involved in mysterious things, paranormal activity, UFOs, Bigfoot, things like this, and you're so embedded in it and it's so real. I coined a phrase a couple years ago called the paracondrach, and where it's like every light in the sky is a UFO, every bump in the night is a ghost, every little crack of a twig is a Bigfoot. So I think when you're involved with it, as long as these women have been, and guys too. So we feature both in the film. So they're accepting things. Sometimes it's Stockholm syndrome. Sometimes it's, the reality. How do they get past this? How did they accept what's going on? Like the one, like she said, they had no right to use me as a laboratory rat. She's quite pissed. Right. I can get that sense of anger there. And, when I'm watching the film, obviously I'm looking for, tells, or to see is there something else going on here? Are they lying? I just don't get anything from them. It seems very much that it's not only just coming from an emotionally sincere place, but that it's actually what they saw, what they remembered, was in fact what happened. They weren't overlaying an experience, but that,
right.
Yeah, that's just from my lay observation.
Well, and I think that's why when you were asking earlier about how do you know, and that's part of it. You're looking for tells, you're looking for signs, and these it's a real deal, and that's really hard for someone like me to accept because I am nuts and bolts. I am science. I am give me that DNA, and if there's nothing for me to come and pick up with my forensic kit, you don't need me. You got 20 other people do light in the sky. That's not going to be me. I do evidence cases. So it's just interesting.
Yeah. So how what I didn't quite understand clearly in the documentary, as I understood that they went under hypnosis, but I wasn't sure, like, in the Betty and Barney Hill, there's what they remembered clearly from that night, and then there's what they got from the hypnosis process. So how much of those experiences in general were remembered consciously?
There were actually, we have a lot of that remember that. Like all their details were just their memory. It was conscious. And then we have those that absolutely they find out more. In fact, we have one of the witnesses that literally will not be regressed. She doesn't want to know any more than what she has to deal with already. It's interesting.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, why do you think that some, no matter how traumatic, negative or neutral the experience is, I guess, why do some are either so deeply curious and want to know more, and it becomes a part of their life, of who they are, and then others are just like, I don't want to have anything to do with this anymore. I'm done. I don't want to think about it. I want to talk about it.
It may have just as much to do with personality as it does, the event. And I think of people who are adopted, and some are desperate. They need to know where they come from. Do I look like somebody? Why they give me up? And then you got some that could care less. They got a good life. They don't bring me. If you weren't the Brady Bunch, you're not going to be the Brady Bunch. So I think it's the same thing with the abductees. Some want to know, some don't.
Right. Yeah, and also I guess it's almost like when you have relationships with people, and that person, whether it's a parental figure, sibling, loved one, spouse, whatever, when they do something that hurts you, you have to decide where are they coming from and how will this continue. Is there anything I can do to change the situation? If not, the best thing to do often is just walk away.
Yeah.
But can you walk away? Can you walk away from an abduction experience? Because
not that I know of. However, there is, and I checked with Kathleen Martin, who's Betty Hill's niece, but she's heavily embedded and does a lot of data research on the abduction syndrome, and she verifies we hear all the time that you can stop an abduction, and the only way people can do it is when they invoke the name of Jesus Christ. What does that mean? That kind of puts a whole new spin, but
yeah,
Kathleen. So either they recognize Jesus Christ, or they just don't want to play around with that. Who knows? But it's the only thing we've heard that can stop an abduction.
I'm going to give you a chat room from the KGRA chat room question here. It's a little early, but I'm going to go ahead. So this is from Libertas, and they say, "Hi, Chase. Personally, any being that takes people without their permission is not a good being. I have seen people traumatized by abductions. So why do many in ufology push the paradigm that aliens are good and do not hurt people?"
That's not what you're going to see in our film. You heard Mark D'Antonio say, they don't have the same morality as we do. And I agree. I remember it was one of the former Utah state director made a comment that I'll never forget. And she was debating another person that it was all love and light and they're here to save us. And, and she says, look, and her name was Elaine Douglas. She's like, look, you can take me out of my house kicking and screaming and take me out to a steak dinner. You still kidnap me. So, I think that's the deal. The one gift that we're given as humans is agency. We're given the chance to make up our own minds. And that agency is so sacred and so important because it separates us from so many other things. Mm-hmm. And when that's taken away, it's sinful, period.
It is sinful. Okay. So here, that's the irony, right? Because this is going to get really complicated. So we don't have to go down this road if you don't want to. But for me, being raised Catholic, that was one of the issues I had, reading a dogmatic conservative interpretation of the Bible, because I looked at much of what was in the Old Testament and how people were treated, by a higher power, God, if you will. And I thought, well, that doesn't seem right. Even if we messed up, I wouldn't do that to somebody. That doesn't seem right. And then here we are with these cases of abduction, and we look at these beings and they say, well, even if it's for a good cause, right? How they're doing it is totally wrong. It's, and so that's kind of, I guess, how I saw my interpretation of the Bible growing up, right? And so if that's the case, then it seems a little ironic to call upon Jesus to be your saving grace under such a condition. Although the New Testament, I get, separate from the Old, but it just all kind of overlaps.
I spoke at a conference in Branson. It's what is it? The Legends Conference, and this is your right-wing True Legends. Sorry, this is your right-wing prophecy community. They're evangelics, and they believe that this is the deceit that is coming in the end of days, and they believe that when the Bible says in Revelation that even the elect or the most educated will be fooled, how are you going to do that? You're not going to do that with, some guy popping up saying, hey, you're going to have that technology, right? So they believe that it's going to be a UFO, and they're going to come down, they're going to give us a little bit of, cancer cure, maybe free energy. And, we have this bliss and we're all embedded with them. And then all hell breaks loose. And so they think it's a deception that will fool the elite, because the scientists would want to be there. It answers a lot of questions from Revelations, like how are they going to ride in on a cloud? How are they going to, so there's a lot, and I'm going to go on a limb here and say, because I've been very honest with this before, that prophecy community has just as much proof as any other UFO researcher, whether it's nuts and bolts, whether it's consciousness, they have just as much to back up their theory. So it's interesting.
What do you mean just as much?
Well, meaning, they have data and details from, the Bible and historic things. And they think that these aliens are just demons. And, how is Satan going to build an army? He's going to build an army because we know demons, where they come from, right? It's the Nephilim, fallen angels, blah, 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 blah. But how are you going to build an army to go against everything else?
Right.
And they believe it's the hybridization, but it's demons and it's evil entities.
But what about the evidence for that? Don't you think that there's much more solid evidence for that these are just, beings from outer space or from underground?
No, I think they believe that this is absolutely supernatural and spiritual, and they believe that this is a portal thing, so or dimensional. How are fallen angels kicked out of heaven and sent down to earth? So they transverse physics that we don't understand. So if they can transverse this, or it's their flesh and blood, there's just, so as far as the proof goes, a lot of it is there's nothing empirical, but they have a lot of things to back up what they're saying, such as when Geraldine is talking about a screen image and it's a reptilian who's raping her.
Right.
A reptilian, so they automatically say, Satan is, a serpent worship, blah, 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 blah. So, and then they have all these ancient stories. They have all this data, biblical things, especially, not only on the Bible that we read, but also on a lot of Bibles that didn't make it, or books that didn't make it. Right. So there's a lot with that. They're a little less nutty about some things too, to be honest with you.
Who's less nutty?
The prophecy community. When I'm talking about Timothy Alberino, I mean, he's deep in that. And, I just love this kid to death. I worked with L.A. Marzulli for a long time. He is amazing. I love L.A. He's been doing this before it was cool. And, there's just a whole group out here that are working hard. They're doing their work. And I really appreciate it because they're doing it the way it needs to be done, much like you're seeing in Skinwalker Ranch. So if we're not seeing these, craft land and aliens coming out, it's anyone's guess. And anybody telling you they have it figured out, they know exactly what's going on, turn it off. Don't even listen, because this is craziness. We've even heard Tom DeLonge talk about not so good. We hear all sorts of people with more information than we get talk about, get ready, guys, because we're not sure this is going to be good for us. So,
when Geraldine in the documentary emphasizes that during that rape, as it were, it was a natural insemination,
right?
But there are also instances where it's in vitro or some other way, and her description of why she thinks that is that there has to be a sort of a connection of spirit, or there's an energy when two bodies meet and collide, and that energy is transferred, to the embryo. And now, so my understanding is that she felt like she was sort of drugged, right? And then instead of seeing a reptilian, what she really saw was a person,
right?
Very perfectly attractive man that would fit her ideal man, right? And that's what they screened over top. And so that is to make it a pleasant experience. What I wasn't sure was, is it sort of like if you are, I wish I had a scientific term for it, but I don't. If you have a wet dream, people can have those, and it doesn't make you a bad person, right? Just because you did. So is that sort of what it's like, where you're not with the right person, you're in the wrong place, but you're kind of going along with this dream sequence, and that makes it just pleasant enough in the moment so that it's not, it doesn't bring a negative energy to the experience.
I agree. I mean, I really don't have an answer for that, but I think what you're saying makes sense. If they can do it with just tools and instruments, then why are they taking a risk like that? Why are they actually coming down and going through all the hoopla, right? I think you're absolutely right. There's a connection. And what if certain people that have had the experiments before, because she talks about the tube being inserted, right? What if they have been somehow changed a little bit, that they can breed with another species?
Right. Because that one doesn't imagine if you're okay. So I'll kind of circle around back to that. I forget the woman's name, but one of her experiences was being in a cavern underground, and she remembered the floor was wet and moist. It was like a cave, and we've heard a number of reports. Not necessarily insemination abductions, but just all kinds of abductions, all kinds of encounters, not necessarily abducted onto a craft, that take place in caves and underground. So are they coming from up there or down below or both?
Yeah, that's exactly where we're going now. Now that, it's kind of been outed that they're real, the government admits this, the military admits this, and, now it's like, okay, well, who are they and what do they want? That's exactly where we're going now. And I've always said, paranormal, UFOs, Bigfoot, this phenomenon is connected. And each of those disciplines, we don't like to mix our sciences, right? So nobody's sharing this information. And I think Skinwalker Ranch is blowing that right up right now. So, and I also think, does it have to be one or the other? Can it be all? What if we have interdimensional beings that are more of a supernatural type of visitation? We have entities from other planets. Why does it just have to be one or the other? So, I personally think most of this is going to be a physics we don't understand. They're transversing. They can, teleport or whatever you want to call it. And there's more evidence for that than anything else. So.
Right. So obviously, if you can accept the idea that there's one extraterrestrial species visiting, then why not multiple?
Right.
And it's so funny when you hear scientists speak in this matter of the likelihood of extraterrestrial life. They say it's very high. I think the majority of astrophysicists would say that's so. And yet they have such a hard time accepting that maybe one of those or several of those have figured out how to kind of spy on us, hang around here. They get caught once in a while, but nothing too damning of their presence. And I think you have an opportunity to speak to more people in those fields. What's your sense? Are they afraid of the reputation, or do they really just think that these witnesses and experiencers are having some other non-extraterrestrial experience or non-interdimensional experience?
Yeah, we have a lot of people, especially in MUFON, which I'm not a member of anymore. Like, I resigned all positions out of MUFON, and they, they're just so nuts and bolts. They don't even recognize the abduction. There's some people that think this is all my lab and government, playing tricks and, doing all this, psychological op. And, so again, it's complicated, and we just got started, sort of.
Just got started in the alien abduction?
Well, yeah, we're trying to connect more dots. We're getting more and more data. So as you're getting data and witness statements that, I was scared, and they had me look in their eyes, and I felt very calm. I calmed right down. We hear that all the time. So that's a data point. So now we can go ahead and trigger that into an algorithm and trigger that into a chart. And we have very, very smart people, UFO Twitter guys, and it's like brilliant people on that page that, come out and they'll tell you that this is where it's going. This next generation, my generation were gumshoes, right? Mm-hmm. This next generation, they're so smart. They're already on it. I mean, they've got standards and education level that is through the roof, and we need that. I love these new guys.
Yes. Well, you know what? Speaking of that, and a new way of investigating and discussing, because a lot of us have discussed in these ways for years, but now it's coming to the fore, like you said, through UFO Twitter and other means. I'd like to get your take. I don't know. Have you seen Hellier? The series?
It's a movie?
It's a series by documentary makers. But essentially, what they do is they just document their investigative experience, their journey, as it were, and they don't get necessarily a lot of nuts and bolts answers like Skinwalker Ranch, but there are certain happenings and coincidences that are just uncanny, and that's the side of all of this, I think, that might hold the key to linking it all together, because it's like you're following the trail of crumbs.
Well, and I think some people have the answers. Bigelow didn't stop for nothing.
No.
He didn't stop looking for nothing. Right. And and that's it. You have that aerospace industry and the secret keepers, the black project guys, like guys with skunk works and stuff like this. Why are they involved? I mean, you have Steve Justice now with To the Stars Academy. He was the SR-71. Like, he's one of the head engineers behind building this. And when they're all looking in one direction, kind of want to look at what they're looking at, right? Exactly. So Bigelow looking at paranormal and UFOs and a different aspect. And then you have all these others. Jacques Vallée has been, very involved. The NIDS, the scientists, all this stuff is going on. And, so many are just chasing little lights in the sky. It's always only going to be a light in the sky.
Yeah, I think, one way to bridge it is, I would say that the Hellier docuseries is like taking the work of Jacques Vallée and moving it into a docuseries that makes it a real world and unfolding of a mystery, which I love. So we are at the second break. So we will come back with Chase Kloetzke in just a few minutes. Thank you all for joining us. This is our first live stream using StreamYard. So hopefully you'll find us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/paranormalpop or on Facebook, Paranormal Now Radio. This is Alan B. Smith for KGR Radio. We will be right back.
Now you have the inside contact for alternative talk radio. The Planet. KGRAradio.com.
Okay, we seem to be having some technical issues with Alan B. Smith. So I'm going to run a couple of commercials.
I don't think you need to. I think we're okay.
Okay.
Oh.
Can
you hear me?
Now I can hear you guys.
Okay.
All right, we're back.
Well, see, that's the great thing about the visual stream is that at least you can see us, even if you couldn't hear us. All right, so welcome back to Paranormal Now. This is Alan, grateful host, and thanks for Chase Kloetzke having such a good spirit hanging out with us tonight. I really appreciate that.
I love your show. This is fun.
Thank you, Chase. I really appreciate that. So if you want to find out more about Chase Kloetzke, just go to chasekloetzke.com. And about the film we're discussing tonight, it's extraordinarytheseating.com. Okay, so now that we've got the audio straight away, my question to you, Chase, is have you personally had an experience?
I have, but it's not an abduction. It was a quick little, we're in a cornfield, we see a being, and we're gone. And it wasn't that we were afraid of it. It's already, I just felt like this horrific fear. And everybody did the exact same thing. It was almost hive-minded. Nobody said a word, and all of a sudden everybody's turning and running. And we don't know why. Like, why am I running? And it was just a weird experience. But, yeah. And, I had another one, like, you can't get out there and chase these things all the time and not have stuff. There was another one I had with Chris Bledsoe. We were investigating up in North Carolina, and we had a bunch of people with us. I believe there were 9 of us. And, we're walking through the woods, and it's this like tiny little batch of woods. So when you have the power lines and a community, you know how they always plant those trees for the EMF. So it's a little tiny batch of woods. You can almost see from one end to the other. Well, we're in there, and we go down this little ditch, and when we come out, we're supposed to see right there, the big open field. Mm-hmm. And we didn't. And we're in here, and I'm embarrassed. I'm frustrated. We can't get out of these woods. And we're walking and walking. Next thing I know, we're back in that ditch. We come out. Sure enough, there it is right there. A couple weeks later, we get a call from one of our evidence guys that goes over the video. And he's like, Chase, you're not going to like this. I'm like, oh, no, what? And he's like, all 3 helmet cams are missing 8 minutes.
Oh, my gosh. Now, have you had a cryptid experience in particular at all, or?
No, but I have. I love going out there, and because it's just something about being in the woods, and all of a sudden you hear like a little twig break, and everybody's like, "Oh, what's that?" Like your heart's racing. It's a little scary. It's like that's just cool, especially when you're old and grumpy like me. I love those moments. What?
Yeah. My experiences with the paranormal are quite limited as well. But we did have an experience where we were camping and something was heard outside the tent, and we happened to be in a place that was a kind of a paranormal hotspot. Long story short, I had to run out of the tent for personal reasons, and was hesitant to do so, but had to go, and there was nothing there. I mean, it was like something was walking right next to the tent. You could hear like a crunch, crunch, and we knew one of the fellow campers had a dog, but it was a little dog with 4 little,
Yeah, right.
It wasn't that. That's not what we heard. And then there's nothing there. Just like whatever it was gone. So bizarre.
I also had a paranormal experience, and in the bathroom coming out of the shower, and it's one of those great big mirrors, and all of us that, had the big hair in the 80s, right? We all still blow dry our hair with our head upside down, right? So I'm blow drying my hair, and all of a sudden I flip it up, and there's a man literally standing right behind me. You guys, he was so solid, I thought I was going to get hurt. I thought so bad that I kind of dropped down and hunched and realized I dropped the only weapon I had, which was a blow dryer, but it's all I had, right? So I pull it out of the wall so hard, it bends the whole thing out. And I'm waiting, and I'm cringing, and I'm just waiting for it, and nothing. So I kind of turn around, he's gone. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's in my bedroom. He's, what's going on? Mm-hmm. So I walk out there, and about the time I get to the door to my bedroom, I'm thinking, wait a minute. Like, my doors are locked. And my dogs would bark like crazy to anybody who even walked by the house, let alone come in. They're mental. And I kind of sat back and I thought, oh my gosh, like, what was that? But when I threw my head up, I looked right in his eyes, and he looked just as surprised to see me, it seemed. So then I kind of had a moment where I kind of giggled a little, and he's probably calling his wife right now saying, I just saw this crazy woman with this black hair flying. She just popped up in my mirror. It's just like, and I just, what do you do with that, right?
Well, there's not much you can do with it, I guess.
It's so funny. It's like, we have so many moments out there, especially with the team. And, I love being in the field. It's this shutdown is killing me, because we should be out there right now. We should be filming. We should be, working cases. And, I have expedition, and, because of this, everything getting backed up, I actually had to cancel one, and, because it's just not enough time in it. In what's left. It's just crazy right now. But
Chase,
I love being out there.
Oh, okay, that sounds a little low on my end. Okay, so how did you get involved as a producer for the film?
This was something that I was working with Jack Ross, and we were already working on a book with the same topic, and that's where we get a lot of the witnesses. And much to his credit, this Roman X story did so well on Netflix. Netflix wanted another movie. They're like, you guys, you killed us, let's go, because it was banking big time. And so they're like, what do you have any ideas? And Jack in this meeting says, Chase, don't be mad, but I just threw it out there and they loved it. And I'm like, no, that's great, it's awesome. It isn't about mine, right? And so
well, Chase, I'm sorry. I'm gonna hold it right there. We're gonna take a break, and while we take a break, we're gonna see if we can get the audio fixed. So everybody, stand by. We'll be back as soon as we possibly can. Thanks, Bill Skywatcher, our producer, for giving me the signal here to take a quick transition. So hang in there. We will be right back. This is Alan B. Smith for Paranormal Now on KGRA Radio.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied. But you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. angioprim.com. Have a great day.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com. Or to speak with a trained consultant. Give Angioprim a call at 954-882-7221. That's 954-882-7221.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Hudson Valley, New York.
Lost in a bad way, cost me my family. Chaos around me, can't hear my heart say, hey, that's the wrong way. Hey, that's the wrong way. Hey, that's the wrong way.
And welcome back to Paranormal Now. This is Alan B. Smith, your most grateful host. Very grateful to have Chase Kloetzke on here. We've got the audio good to go. So I think the most important question for me in regard to abduction cases is the long-term effect that it has generationally. Because anyone who has a trauma in their life, it's not just them that it affects their children, sometimes unconsciously, their behaviors that are passed down, and no one even is aware of it. You know, I mean, we understand this in terms of African American history, right? That there's trauma passed down from slaves to their children and grandchildren and so on and so forth. And so there's sort of a built-in trauma. So other than doing a regression and other than just, trying to understand what happened, how does the therapist help them deal with the emotional trauma itself?
I'm sure it's like most any other trauma. And I don't really know how to answer that because that's the part that I pass on to like Yvonne Smith and some of the others. Barbara Lamb is just sweetheart. We are on totally different sides of a lot of things but I just love her. She's like the sweetest little lady, even though we disagree on theory. But, the people that I've talked to, I'll use Melinda Leslie as an example. She researches, she got right into it. It's like, wait, this is happening to me. Let me find out what's going on. And then you have others that just, had a family and just kind of stayed quiet and kept trying to have a baby. And then you have, Geraldine, doing these very thoughtful meditations and doing them live. I think everybody's just dealing with it the best way they can. And I don't think most of them have not had therapy. Some have had regression, but I don't remember many of them at all having therapy.
Yeah, well, I guess they say it in the documentary, right? Just the fact that other people can say, "Hey, I've had this similar experience." It makes you just feel a sense of relief that you're not alone.
And that they're not crazy. And almost any investigator is going to tell you when we first talk to a witness, usually the first word out of their mouth is, "I'm not crazy." And I think, it's like, they don't want us to judge them like they're crazy, because what they're about to tell us is, it should be ridiculous, except they know what happened to them. And 9 out of 10 times, it's like, dude, I've heard this 30 times, last year alone. So, you have to maintain that very professional, hands-off, persona when you're involved in an investigation. Because the other thing that happens is there's a lot of attention when things first happen. Investigators are there, they're telling the story, and it feels so great to get it out. And, I try not to buddy up or almost be family. And they want to do that because they feel bonded to you because you're the first one that believed them. And you can't do that. And the reason is, and I made a huge mistake, and it's because then you have another investigation and they feel abandoned and they feel like you left them. And I would never, oh my gosh, right? Never want people to feel that way ever. And so that's always bothered me. That one witness was very hurt and was like, and the truth is, I'm kind of a friendly person, right? And so, I'm just whatever. And it was terrible. So right now it's just like a police officer. You don't get involved. You don't have dinner with them. And they want you to. You're out at their house and, they're like barbecuing. And I was in this one investigation in Tennessee, and this guy's smoking this friggin' chicken. It was just amazing. And he's like, come on, Chase, have a little bite to eat with us. I'm like, no, I'm good. I'm going to go make a phone call or whatever. And I'm eating my little granola bar in my car, just dying. But, you can't, you just have to be careful because they're already traumatized to begin with, even if they just saw something in the sky. So, to cause any more hurt on them is just not something I want to do. So, I always try to give that advice to investigators, that the professionalism of an investigator is probably your greatest gift. And they need that. They don't need a new friend. They really need a good investigator, right? That's why they call you.
Yeah, exactly. Do they have easy access in various parts of the U.S. to support groups where they can, as you go in and you investigate, that you can leave a card or website with them or a private number or something and say, hey, this is where you can go. I'm sorry I have to leave you, but these people have shared your experience.
Right. And then that is something we do now. Like, with the abductees, I always pass them on. So they're already connected with groups and people that can help them further. It's mostly just, more of the UFO events that, it's just, you're out there, you're collecting material and, evidence and, they have no one else to call. So if you're not good at what you're doing and you're not helping, call someone else, call someone else, have them do it, because it's just too big of a responsibility to not take it seriously.
Are there any protocols? I know MUFON updated their investigation methods fairly recently, right? They made some changes. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, they're probably ones I did before I left.
Okay, yeah. So is there a component to the training that emphasizes expressing empathy with someone? Because I know from a scientific point of view, you want to be as objective as possible.
Yeah.
But, it's like, I feel like it's more like anthropology,
Well, it is. And it's a balance. I mean, I'm not like stone cold either, it's a definite balance. And yeah, MUFON has a great training manual. So even if you don't investigate for them, buy the manual. It's freaking awesome. But I also have a book called Admissible that teaches you how to investigate professionally. So, and everything from interviews to stay out of the rabbit holes. It's like all the advice I can give. I've been doing this since 1994, and it's just so much to learn out there. And like the story I just shared about the guy feeling abandoned. We've made mistakes, and I don't want the next guys doing that. So any advice we can give people so that our witnesses have great investigators. And out of all fairness, not everybody in MUFON is a good investigator. I'll be honest with you. Some are, some aren't. So it's just how it goes. Big organization like that.
Yeah. Well, what is the what are the bare minimum qualifications of being an investigator? I mean, do you have to be super educated, or how does one become one?
Pay the money, take the test, you're in.
Okay. So fair enough. But and that's fine. Like someone can learn the methodology, right? If they are truly taking this seriously, they can go out into the field and do a good job.
Yeah, and
you can pay the money, like you said. And what if that person just says, "Hey, I've got this thing, good for me. Now I can be an investigator and do whatever," and they're very loose and
they go, and
somehow, like, how does that?
Yeah, it happens, and not just a MUFON, just investigations as it is. I'm sure you recognized in the paranormal world that, you have these 3 guys that watch ghost hunters and thought that was the coolest thing ever. And they get black t-shirts. They all stand like this and have a paranormal Facebook page. And then they're actually going out to people's houses. They have no idea what they're doing. So, yeah. So it's just nutty. So it's to have that professionalism, but ufology is so far ahead. So if I'm in Scotland, say, and I walk up to another UFO investigator and say, "Hey, I'm investigating a C4 AN," they know exactly what I'm talking about because we have a universal coding and status. And paranormal, like, everybody's all over the place. There's no set standard and no rules, and we have rules out here, and strict standards. So, look at someone like Richard Dolan. You don't see him baffooning anything, right? He's brilliant. He's great. What he brings to the community is amazing, and everybody's got their niche. But it's the professionalism. Look at the professionalism of the people who are most successful in this field.
Right. Richard Dolan is in the documentary for those who are listening.
Yes.
Yeah, and I guess the whole idea of the conservative ufologist, it seems, I think you were alluding to earlier, is going by the wayside, right? Is that okay, or?
Yeah, I mean, the field's moving forward. So, unidentified Skinwalker Ranch, they're up in the game, seriously up in the game. So, the conservative people, they obviously still have a place. However, most feel fired by To the Stars Academy because they want nothing to do with UFO people. I'm good friends with Lou, but he doesn't see me like that. He sees me as, a military officer wife, like his wife. And it's just, I think there's room for everybody, but the game is so far ahead right now. We've already had disclosure. Everybody's waiting for a big announcement from the president or the UN or something. It's already happened. They're already moving on. And to tell you the truth, being up here in DC, I have gotten in and talked to lawmakers.
Yeah.
And I can tell you one thing right now, if you don't have a clearance, you're not going to get that discussion, because now it's the Navy, lab guys, the Navy rocket science guys that are studying this phenomenon and briefing. It's no longer UFO people, and it never was. They don't want UFO people up there. They don't. And so this whole phenomena has been pushed so far ahead. And right now it's about science, professionalism, and toys. Geiger counters, EMF meters, tri-field meters, observables, the kind of observable cameras where it's just not good enough one. We need to triangulate this stuff. So you need several different views. It's about not tripwires, but the laser, alarms. It's this stuff. We need documented evidence.
Yeah.
We got tons of stories and they're awesome, but we have tens of thousands and thousands of thousands. We need evidence. And so this is where the field's going now is, big boys got the big toys. I got medium ones. It's like, we're all going to do what we need to do, but,
what evidence is there in the abductees experience that is legit, that you can present and say, look, this is real world physical evidence to suggest something truly did happen to this person? It wasn't just a dream.
Yeah. A lot of times it will be something as the sonograms, or in Betty Hill's case, there's like this pink powder or substance that was still on her dress. And it has been examined a few times. They don't know what it is. So there's things like that we're looking for. Sometimes we get implants. Had a witness just recently, and he was a veteran. So he had this thing in his hand forever, and it's just started bothering him. So he goes to the VA hospital, tells the doctor, take this out. So he gets an x-ray. Doctor says, okay, yeah, I can get that. He numbs him up, he cuts it open, he takes it, and the guy says, can I have that? He goes, sure. So he put it in this little tube, and the doctor marked it. It was like one of the best cases, right? Mm-hmm. And he comes back, and we're examining this thing, and first of all, it's magnetic. So you put it on the little sterile pad, and you put a magnet next to it, and it comes right out at it. You take it to the other side, they got little wires coming out of it trying to reach the magnet. It's the creepiest thing I've ever seen. I was just like, it was creepy. Yeah. But honestly, that's what we're looking for. Tech that we don't understand, and things that work like that.
So creepy detecting tech is what we need.
Well, yeah, but that's better than nothing. So, is that extraterrestrial? We don't know. How are we going to know that? But we could pass that technology on to the STARS Academy, to people that are going to actually do something with it.
Yeah. And so is there a way to, how there's the search for extraterrestrial intelligence SETI for a time there? I know they stopped, but they had a program where they sort of aggregated people's abilities to access information and use their hard drives at home to run data, right?
Right.
Is there a way to embrace that idea of a social community working in tandem to investigate this, so that you can use all resources possible?
That's absolutely coming, and that's going to be from To the Stars Academy, and they have Scout. And it's going to be a phone app, and it's partnered with Adam and the Adam program. Okay. And basically what this is going to do is they're going to send you an alert on your phone if there's any kind of activity reported in your area. And you could do so many miles, and they'll give you a direction on where they're seeing it. So you could run out and get your camera out and take photos, or whatever you need to do. But there's a lot of that. This is what I'm talking about, like the new kids on the block, right? These new kids are coming up with these apps and really extraordinary ways of taking this further. We have PhD quantum physics and, UFO Twitter. Deep, the guy's a friggin' rock star to me. I love this kid. And, the things that he's coming up with, it's through the roof. I love these kids. The field is in good hands when you have people like them on board.
Right. Well, you can also easily afford, not everyone can easily afford, but if you save up a little bit of money, you can afford a portable spectrometer, right? And you can hook that up to your app and on your phone. It's just amazing. I mean, the things that only the most wealthy or the professionals in the field had access to, tech has become so small and so inexpensive that field investigators can bring this to real world investigating. What about MUFON investigators or anyone who considers themselves a professional ufological investigator? Should they be gearing up with that stuff without scientific training like ghost hunters do?
That's a really good point. And, it's why I educated myself and took a test. I was certified on an international forensics certification. It's the only one out there. If it was a college course, I would have taken that, but that's all there is. There's college courses for processing evidence, but there's nothing to collect it. And it's actually very difficult, and it can easily be messed up, which is my only complaint with Skinwalker Ranch, right? They go running right up to this dead cow, right? It's like, dude, where's your, no. And don't touch anything. Stop touching things with your hands. Or those gloves protect you. you need sterile gloves to protect your evidence. So it's like the little mistakes, but they're great. They're doing a good job. But I think it's your responsibility to keep current. I constantly research new techniques or new protocols in the Department of Justice and the Institute of Justice. That's the protocol and the rules I follow. It's very easy to do that because now you're using the same skill sets and the same information as the police department, the FBI, the CIA. So anybody that investigates, that's your set of standards. So you don't need an admissible, you don't need a MUFON book, you don't need, what you need to do is, educate yourself and make sure you're honing in those skills. And when you're talking about equipment, I do have a lot, but I've been doing this a long time and I take really good care of my stuff. So, I've had a tri-field meter for I don't know how many years. It still works great. It's perfect. But that's why I don't have cute clothes, guys. It's why I cut my own hair. It's birthdays, Christmas. I want night vision. I don't need a diamond ring, right?
I can relate to that.
Exactly. It's like, that makes me happy.
Whoever's cutting your hair, awesome.
Me.
Okay, cool. So,
thank you.
I think in terms of that, like if I want to spend a little bit of money on some tech for this, I think I'd rather do that than buy clothes that I would really love to buy because I tend to be attracted to clothes that are expensive.
Right.
So I end up being kind of grungy, which I'm cool with too. So I try to mix that balance as best as I can. But yeah, how do you spend money on things when you're fascinated with the subject?
And if you have a team or a best friend, go in it together. You can make this a kind of a group thing, even though you investigate individually. And I suggest that, or two. It's always a rule of two. But yeah, there's ways. There's really ways. And of course, you got Craigslist, all those other sites that I don't even know about because I'm too old to care about, like, what is it, Pinterest or whatever. Mm-hmm. And, so there's ways. There are.
So we have a question from the chat room, and that is from Libertas. It says, governments study of ufology. Do you think they also study abductions?
I think they have to, right? They have to. I mean, even like Lou Elizondo has had many conversations, and really it's trying to figure things out. But there's such a big entity right now, or there's many people there, that you have one group of the scientists working on the nuts and bolts, or evidence, physical evidence that they have, and then you have another whole team that's really out there. And when you think, like Harry Reid and some of these guys, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about aliens. They're talking about, what is this phenomena and who's behind that pilot wheel, whether they're physically in it or it's a drone type technology. Somebody's got a knob somewhere, right? So it's, and the big disclaimer or the big debunk thing they do on these, spaceships is usually, how many light years away or whatever. And it's like, dude, they're not coming here with a Red Bull and a full tank of gas. They're transversing physics. We haven't figured out yet. So this is, common sense parts of your theory. So once your hypothesis is there, if it no longer fits, got to throw it out. And I think one of the problems is these guys are still trying to work the same old question. They're trying to work the same old theory from 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. It's just, it's why I move on. Like, I can only take static for so long. And, I want to take corners on two wheels. So.
Right. I'm with you 100% on that. And you also gave me the image of Red Bull sponsoring a rocket ship going through with their logo side,
Yeah. SpaceX for sure. Elon Musk would be all about that, right?
But yes, the idea that sometimes you kind of feel like maybe you hit a dead end. And so do you keep on pushing and pushing and pushing, trying to find a crack in the wall, something that's new. And sometimes that works, but that can take a long time. So in the meantime, yeah, why not check out different avenues of investigation, even if they just seem to be a little bit more out there. Maybe by going a different way, it will cause you to think differently and ask questions that maybe had not occurred to you going down your tried and true path of investigation.
Absolutely. And, the elongated skulls, that's, part of it is, I'm not a skull expert. I'm not an osteologist that understands bones, but I am a forensics. I can take those bones. I can take that DNA sample. And so this is where sometimes as an investigator, step out of your box. I got thrown in this whole new world with LA and Timothy and just really spectacular people, and I learned something from them every time.
Yeah. So I had another question that we had already asked earlier, and it was, will Chase give us a hint on her next big project? I suspect, Chase, that you're still not gonna give it away, huh?
No, and I hate teasing. I don't want to tease the audience at all. But there's this lockdown. It's like, it's so brutal to, our work right now. And, I wish I could say something. I know everybody's sick of the NDA excuse, but we are under an NDA and non-disclosure form. And, and plus, we want to protect our site. Not that from other people can't come out there. We want that. I had a really big case in fact, I did it with Josh Gates on Expedition Unknown, and it was in Mena, Arkansas at a crystal mine. And we actually caught something on film, by the way. It's in the show. But after we got done with the investigation, I called some of my favorite investigators, people that I know are rock solid and good, and said, get in there, guys. See if you can find the same stuff we did. See if you can back up our evidence. And that's how we're going to strengthen any kind of evidence at all, which is so rare in ufology to get any evidence. So it's why we have to document. I want people to still call and be able to tell their story. Mm-hmm. But investigators need to start picking up evidence. They need to start understanding that this is what we need. This is the next step. I'm telling you, you watch the Skinwalker Ranch. That game is so up right now. Yeah, exactly. It's like, that's the new play field right there. Right there, that and unidentified. That's our new standard set, period. So, and there's still room for, investigators that don't want to rock and roll and, don't mind going out and, sitting with people and taking their testimony and, and that's awesome. There's room for every type of person, but I'm rock and rolling.
You're rock and rolling?
Rock and rolling.
All right. Well, you've been rock and rolling, and then sometimes the tune just changes, but still keep on going, and that's fantastic. So is there a difference, do you think, for the male abductee versus the female abductee? It seems to me the emotional pain that they experience is the same.
It's just like the guy in the movie, right? What he experienced was humiliating, painful. He lost all that weight. I mean, it really rocked everything. It took him years to crawl out of that one, and which is why we were so lucky to have his story, because we need to hear it, because males are picked up as well, and their sperm is taken, and there are experiments done on them in places they don't want to go, and that's just how it's horrible. Just again, going back to, this isn't just new phenomena. Barney also had that taken to him too, right? He had the sperm extracted. And for a man, not that it's any easier for a woman, because it's not, but men are going to process things much differently than women. Okay. And it's just devastating to watch. It's just devastating. I bawled my eyes out at the end of this movie, and I was there, right? So it's just, the edits are amazing. I love the quality. It's film quality.
Well, because it's respectful. It's not flashy. It's doesn't have that cheese factor at all. And sometimes people with good intention want to make a ufological film entertaining.
Right, not us.
Because that is part of it, right? You're telling a story. But here it was just utterly compassionate in its story. And I think it felt clean. I think that's the best way that I can describe it.
That is an awesome compliment. Yes, because the minute you said that, it's like, yeah, that's exactly. It's clean. It's a good film telling stories of UFO abductees. And I'm so proud to be a part of that. You guys don't even know, because it was Jack Ross that was very classy, very faithful, awesome friend, very loyal, that said, Chase, we're going to bring you on as associate producer because you and I were working on this before. Mm-hmm. And so that's how it happened. And then he had me, lock down witnesses and professionals and, Richard Dolan and all the others that appear, Mark D'Antonio. And, so it was my first experience as associate producer. Mm-hmm. And I loved it. It was great. I like being in back of the camera way more than in front.
Yep. I'm very much I love doing this, but in my everyday life, I just like being outside doing things and interacting with other people, human beings, hopefully not aliens.
Right.
I have a question here from Carol, actually, in the chat here on the video stream. And this is, how are these very impacted experiencers able to discern, quote, alien contact from MK Ultra?
I think that's still something that we're not sure of. Like, when they're telling their stories, and mostly under hypnosis, there's more and more people that know, like Linda Leslie knows she has both, right? So after a while of processing everything, and again, that's not my specialty, is, the psychological part of that after. That's when I pass them on, and because that's the best thing I could do for them. It isn't try and work through this with them. They need to talk to people who know what they're doing. And so that's a great question. I'm not sure anybody really can prove that it's MK Ultra or it's legit. It's a tough question. This is a very complicated, it's a complicated topic, and it's a complicated phenomena. We still don't even know if they're like coming here, with that full tank of gas and Red Bull, right? So we've gone so far, but there's so much more we need to learn. And this is something that, if you find out ghosts are real, that's cool. So we know there's like an afterlife somewhere, and that's awesome. Mm-hmm. If we find out that Bigfoot is real, how cool is that? Oh my gosh, we have a new species and it's real. You prove that the aliens or these saucers and this technology is real. You just changed the world. You changed everything about our life.
Right. And so what if you're already a believer? Does it change? Does it, if the society collective accepts that yes, aliens are here, there's a phenomena, would that change how you see things at all? Or
I am a believer, obviously, but I could tell you that I've also have a very healthy dose of skepticism, because not everyone that tells you they've been abducted has been, mm-hmm. and not everyone that tells you that, aliens were at the end of their bed was real. So, you take every case or every report completely, you leave everything outside. No judgment. You don't bring anything with you but professionalism, and you do your job. You do your job as an investigator. Yep. And I have found people hoaxing. I have caught people lying, but it's not as common as people would think it is.
Right. Do you remember John? I think it was John Mack. Didn't he have a client that essentially went undercover and told him a yarn, supposedly under hypnosis, and then came out at a conference and said in front of a whole bunch of people, "Hey, I just made this story up, and Mac just ate it up, and I fooled him. Ha ha ha."
Unfortunately, that happens, mm-hmm. And it's sad. because John Mack was amazing. These were the guys that I followed, and they blazed a lot of trails. I mean, they were the first in it. It's Linda Moten Howell. I don't have the same theories or the same mindset as she does on most of her work, but I can tell you that I respect her. I love her depths. Every time I see her, she knows I respect her and adore her, because she was doing it way before it was cool. She was doing it when, these good old boys in UFOs now, they're nasty. They really are nasty. Not all of them. There are some good old boys that's still in that little network that are nasty.
Nasty as in I'm right.
Just mean. They're just mean.
Yeah.
They can't stand it. There's still these old guys. Remember, MUFON's an older organization. There's no youth in there. None. I don't know a single young person that's an investigator in MUFON. Not one. They're mostly, I think it was Clifford Cliff that joked that, a MUFON meeting looked like bingo night at an old folks home.
Yeah.
So, and it's kind of true.
Yeah.
It's an old group, but, Linda took some crap from those good old boys way before. So, as much as I don't like it, she had it 10 times worse, and she made some rules out there, and she kept going. And that's my model. I'm going to go. I have haters. I have some people that I wouldn't tell them if their car was on fire, so it's like, but I keep my head down. I don't get involved with the gossip. I don't get involved with all that crap. I just work. And I think that's where we need to start setting these standards. And people aren't going to look up to those people that do that stuff. You know what I mean? Sure. When they're making public remarks about other investigators on radio and all this, no one wants to work with them. It's fun to hear for a little bit because, you're eating popcorn and it's a little drama and it's kind of funny. After a while, nobody wants to work with these people. And who's going to look up to them? Who's going to look up at their history and what they've spent so much time doing and think they were awesome?
Right. Retrospect might be a little painful for some, I suppose.
History's not going to be kind to a lot of people. I'm just going to say that. Leave it there.
Well, before we run out of time, can you tell me what you think this hybridization and this seeding is? Like, what is going on?
Honestly, I don't know. If I were going to formulate a theory, my theory would be two-sided. So first it would be, maybe they can't stay here or, work here. So they just they're just trying to match us together. So, maybe it's something that we can do together, like on their planet and they're on ours. And the other one is, people are building an army. So it's, I don't know. And I am not going to dismiss the biblical narrative. I'm just not going to do it because 100% spoke in the name of Jesus Christ, not Muhammad, not whoever the Mormon prophet is right now. It's Jesus Christ.
This is what
it's the only way to stop an abduction, according to every expert out there.
Right. So this is what abductees are reporting.
Yes, and I can't dismiss a biblical narrative. There's just way too much going on that it's been predicted in the Bible. It's clear as day. And why? They've been here before.
Right. And so, but then you have that intersection of, because there is interpretation, right?
Right.
Of the Bible. I think there's really no way to get around that because it doesn't, even if you're Christian, right? I mean, one church has a certain interpretation, another church has a certain interpretation of four gospels. But we know that before four gospels were coalesced into one New Testament, there were a multitude of writings and Gnostic gospels, as it were. And so, and if you're accepting the idea that both are true, that there are extraterrestrials, and that the Bible is real, then could it be that extraterrestrials are demons, or rather that demons, as we understand them through the Bible, are really extraterrestrials. They've been here this whole time. They might work for an evil force, as it were, perhaps in the the Christian tradition, the devil. But they're actually not like spirits or interdimensional. Can it be both of those things?
Yeah, it's like I don't rule anything out other than stupid. And anybody that can connect some dots and create a good case, I'm going to listen to. And all you have to do is listen to like L.A. Marzulli or Timothy Alberino. It's friggin' brilliant. He's got a brand new book coming out. I can't wait. He's killed it. He has killed it. It's called Birthright, and it's about this. He has a totally different take on it. So I just want to keep my options open because I don't want to be stupid. I don't want to be fooled. And I don't want to pretend I have all the answers. I personally hope it's all of that. I would love beings from off planet. Oh my gosh, how cool would that be? I would love that so much. Supernatural kind of scares me because, I don't do demons. So it's like, I don't investigate that stuff because that scares the crap out of me. Ever since I saw that movie, The Exorcist, at 16 years old, it's like I couldn't sleep for 3 days. So it's just, we just don't have the answers yet. And thank goodness we have people like the Skinwalker group. And I really want Bob Bigelow, and I'm talking to George Knapp, and I really want to start pressuring Bob Bigelow to release what he has. And he's tempted. So I think we're going to learn so much more out of this type of investigation and keeping our mind open. If we had said 10 years ago, Bigfoots are coming out of portals, they would have laughed us out of the meeting. Or if we could say, what?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, if we could say something about, aliens took me through a window, which now we know it's probably more spirit-like and, more astral. But if they're carrying you out, how did they get you through a wall? So you start saying this stuff a little bit ago, you're a nutcase. However, after Unidentified and Lou Elizondo came out in that big story in New York Times.
Yes.
I'm no longer the crazy lady down the road. I'm the coolest chick on the block.
Right. Well, even now, you're even a cooler chick on the block because they just said that, okay, those videos are officially released. So they're declassified. We
do that. Yeah. Lou shared those with me when we first met, and he's such a good guy, and he is legit. He is 100% legit. His heart's in it for the right reasons. He's everything, and I think they just blew up ufology, and there's some people that just don't like it, and it's too bad. If they find the answer, I'm going to be so grateful.
Do it, yeah.
Anybody, right? So I don't have that jealousy factor coming on, but and I don't need these people to make me relevant. Right. So, I'm just really cheering for them. And I love To the Stars Academy. I think they've brought such a presence, but they're not ufologists. And we want to treat them that way. And they're not. They're CIA, they're operatives, they're intelligence officers, and they don't want to be ufologists. They're not studying ufology. They're studying a national security threat because that's the field they come from. They're not here to entertain ufologists. Right. And I think when people realize that, yes, they're government. If they find something, it's going to go to government. They're going to be transparent with us.
Sure.
But
hopefully, yes.
Yeah, this is national security to every one of those. The only dreamer in there is Tom DeLonge.
All right. Well, that is it, Chase. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it. Is there any last minute thought or anything that you'd like to share before we go?
I just want to say what an honor it has been to be with you for these 2 hours. I listen to your show all the time. I just adore you. You're really a great host. Ask awesome questions, and for the audience to support you, hit those likes on Facebook and on YouTube. Subscribe and really hold these people up that are giving you information every week.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, Chase. And we all look up to you and the work that you continue to do. I think you're a great model for the community. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight on this virtual live stream in conjunction with our typical and everyday and amazing KGRA live stream every Tuesday, 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to thank our producer, Bill Skywatcher, for doing double the work tonight. So thank you, Bill. I appreciate that.
Bill is so awesome. I love that guy.
Bill is amazing. So thank you. And to all of you out there, thank you for joining us. Until next time, live in the mystery. Be well.